Welcome to Lesson 3, or rather, Lives of the Catholic Church, Part 3. We're going to be looking at the Pope, Part 2, and dealing with the lives of the Catholic Church according to the Pope. There is no Pope anywhere mentioned in the Bible. Period. Nope. Matter of fact, the Catholic teachings about the Pope are actually Antichrist. The word Antichrist means in place of or instead of Christ. He claims to be the Pontifex Maximus. According to the common interpretation, the term Pontifex means bridge builder. Maximus means greatest. And so this says he was the greatest bridge builder. Now this was perhaps originally meant an important one in Rome, where the major bridges were over the Tiber. The sacred functions could not be allowed to disturb it with mechanical additions. However, it was always understood in a symbolic sense as well. The pontifices were the ones who smoothed the bridge between God and man. Now, in the Roman Republic, the Pontifex Maximus was the highest office in the state religion of ancient Rome and directed the College of Pontiffs. According to Livy, after the overthrow of the monarchy, the Romans created the priesthood of the Rex Sacrorum, or King of Sacred Rites, to carry out certain religious duties and religious rituals previously performed by the king. The Rex Sacrorum was explicitly derived of military and political power, but the pontifices were permitted to hold both magistracies and military command. The official residence of the Pontiff Maximus was Domus Publicia, the State House, which stood between the House of Vestal Virgins and the Via Sacra, close to Regia, in the Roman Forum. His religious duties were carried out from the Regia. Unless the Pontiff Maximus was also a magistrate, he was not allowed to wear the toga proxia, i.e., toga with a purple. In artistic representations, he can be recognized by his holding of an iron knife or the petra, and the distinctive robes of toga are with the mantle covering the head, in keeping with Roman practice. In practice, particularly during the late Republic, the office of Pontifex Maximus was generally held by a member of the politically prominent family. It was a coveted position mainly for the prestige that it conferred upon the holder. Julius Caesar became a pontifex in 73 BC and Pontifex Maximus in 63 AD. Now, Constantine was a Pontifex Maximus in his reign. Let's look at the duties. The main duty of the pontifices was to maintain the pax decorum, or peace of the gods. The immense authority of the sacred pontiffs was centered on the Pontifex Maximus. The other pontifices, forming his consilium, or advising body, his functions were partly sacrificial or ritualistic. But these were the least important. His real power lay in the administration of Luis Divium, or divine law. His real power lay in the administration of divine law. Information was collected by the pontifices and related to the Roman religious tradition, was bound in a corpus which was summarized dogma and other concepts. Nerius, depicting Julius Caesar as Pontifex Maximus, the chief departments of Jewish Vidium may be described as follows: a regulatory of all expiatory ceremonials need as a result of pestilences and lightnings, etc. The consecration of all temples and other sacred places and projects dedicated to the gods. Notice, the gods, plural. All the fake gods and Christianity. Now, the regulation of the calendar, both astronomically and in detailed application to the public life of the state. The administration of law relating to burials and burying practice and the worship of the manes or dead ancestors. Superintendence of all marriages by conferito, originally all legal marriages. The administration of the law of adoption and of testimony succession. The regulation of public morals and findings and punishing offending parties. The original section of the Vestibule. Now, who were the main 12 pagan gods that Rome worshipped? Roman pagans worshipped 12 main deities that they adopted and adapted from Greek paganism. These gods were Jupiter, Juno, Vesta, Ceres, Mercury, Mars, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Poseidon, Minerva, and Venus. Romans also worshipped foreign gods such as the Egyptian goddess Isis and the Persian god Mithras. Okay, now we're going to look at a chronologically ordered list of Roman emperors beginning in the 1st century CE. We see Augustus from 27 BCE to 14 CE. During this time, Jesus was born during Augustus's reign. And actually, Jesus was crucified under Tiberius. I made a mistake and pointed to Claudius, but it's actually Tiberius from 14 to 37 CE, and this is the time frame that Jesus was crucified. And then you notice Nero began persecuting Christians here after the burning of Rome, and then he would take Christians and pour tar and oil all over them and set them on fire to light the city. And here we see the 2nd century of the Roman emperors. And here we see the 3rd century emperors of Rome. At the top of the list is a continuation of the 3rd century emperors. And then look at the 4th century emperors. Notice down there Constantine, 306 to 337 CE. He reunified the empire. Constantine created a universal church combining all the false religions together under one church. And prior to Constantine doing this, all the other emperors were killing Christians, so Christians had to hide. Persecution of the early church occurred sporadically at first, and in localized areas from the very beginning. The first persecution of Christians was organized by the Roman government who was under Emperor Nero in AD 64, after the Great Fire of Rome, and took place entirely within the city of Rome. Another particularly gruesome form of execution was to burn Christians alive as human torches. Nero was known for his extravagant gardens in which he would light up at night with burning torches. According to some accounts, Nero would have Christians tied to the stakes, covered in tar or pitch, before setting them on fire. Christianity was not an official religion in the 2nd and the 3rd centuries, and families and groups who accepted Christianity generally had to take shelter in underground cities to escape the persecution of Rome. Since many early Christians were also Jews, both religions were subject to persecution. Rome's pagan rituals were part of the normal fabric of life in Roman cities, and those who refused to participate in them had no legal standing. Constantine's decision to cease the persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire was a turning point for the early Christianity, sometimes referred to as the triumph of the church, the peace of the church, or the Constantinian shift. In 313, Constantine and Licinius issued the Edict of Milan decriminalizing Christian worship. And notice what they said: and when we, Constantine, Augustus, and Augustus, met so happily at Milan, and considered together that all the concern that the interest and security of the states, we decided to grant Christians and to everyone the free power to follow the religion of their choice, in order that this is divine in the heavens and may be favorable and propitious towards all who are placed under our authority. So Constantine rolled all the religions together. In 313, Constantine Licinius announced that it was proper that the Christians and all others should have liberty to follow the mode of religion which to each of them appeared best, thereby granting tolerances to all religions, including Christianity. The legend surrounding Constantine's victory in the Battle of the Milvian Bridge relates this vision of the Chi-Rho, in which the text "Hoc signo vinces" in the sky. His reproducing this symbol on the shields of his troops. The following year, Constantine and Licinius proclaimed toleration of Christianity with the Edict of Milan, and in 325, Constantine convened and presided over the First Council of Nicaea. None of this, however, has particularly much to do with the popes, who did not even attend the council. In fact, the first bishop of Rome to be contemporaneously referred to as a pope, or papa, or father, is Damasus, who was the emperor from 366 to 384. Moreover, between 324 and 330, he built Constantinople as a new capital for the empire, and with no apologies to the Roman community of Christians, relocated key Roman families and translated many Christian relics to the new church. So Damasus first is the first official pope, not Peter. Peter was never a pope. He never claimed to be pope. So it was Damasus, not Peter, the first pope. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, part 3 of Lies of the Catholic Church, and we're looking at the Pope, the second part. Next week we'll be looking at the Pope, part 3. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.